It's happening everything like a black box, right?
Yeah, I started recording, so you can ask the question now.
Yeah, so here about the database connection, like there is no open connection or close connection, or how do we know for what database it is getting connected? If you can
So one
tell
thing in
me.
sales was about the database or what we see is, so we don't have any such concept of initiating a database and doing them and calling them. Because if you see a flatly a Java program, so they do or they know about to write a logical program. They can do a compile interpreter, or they can do it. But in order to connect to some database and then get retrieve some information, so for Java they use a third party, maybe SQL. Well, developing at the Java very beginning, core Java. So SQL is a different company and a Java is different company, right?
Yeah.
What if they are same company? So maybe a
Oh,
program could be inbuilt, right? So you would have not even have gone to initiate a connection and then do that. This all are not required. So why? Because Java and SQL they are different companies, and maybe SQL they have Oracle base, and Java has their own Sun microsystem developed. So basically, Java by themselves they didn't have any database. So just it's like a
mm-hmm,
basically programming. How do you see C++ programming is that? So
mm-hmm,
that's the way it is. If you wanted to connect to some database and store record and retrieve, so for them it is a third party. So you're basically trying to do like an integration stuff only. Because
mm,
something which you don't have, you connect to some people, then we say it is an integration. True, right?
mm,
When you have the feature within yourself, you don't connect with anyone else. When you don't have such feature, you connect with someone else. That is what we call integrate. Let's
yeah.
we both integrate and get the data and then exchange the data.
Mm,
So likewise, Java didn't have any such internal database, so they have to connect to some third party like SQL, MySQL, and whatever the database today we have in the market. Of
mm,
course, for them they have to open a connection, and because opening connection, you're saying to SQL saying that I'm opening a connection for you, and I wanted to create some records, and then I wanted to close the connection.
that's why we are giving the certificates and all while we are
Yeah,
connecting SSL handshake and
yes,
everything. Okay.
because absolutely they are like they're not native;
External.
they are external
Mm,
for us. When I'm just dealing with any external, today in Salesforce also, when you want to deal with externals, of course, for a security purpose, we have to handshake, we have to share the securities, and
mm,
then whatnot. So again, you have to. There also you may have connections to open to like say in order to establish some username and a password authentications. First, you may require a token. So token connections would have been an handshake type, and only then you try to start exchanging the data. So prior thing is the primary one is what is a prerequisite is make connection first ready.
mm.
So still same thing applies, but if you see Salesforce, it is the same family where you write a program, where you write a logic of database stuff. It is all in the same family. So in the same family, we need not to do a handshake connections. We
But
can
the
directly
data,
query.
like the database might be different, right? Like my org will be different from some others org. So the database should be different, right? Even if it is in the same umbrella.
How
Uh,
what difference that you find? So I tell you this is a table you're gonna create. Absolutely fine. So you say that this table name select name.
oh, I get you. I know. I think I understand what you're saying. So in the org itself, the objects what we are creating is a table, right?
Okay. No, that is what I'm saying. Trying to say is when you have a circle type things, so where you have different connections. Even there also, if you see a flat no queries would be the same, right? Select name from
Mm-hmm.
table where conditions you
Mm-hmm.
can give, and you select the record.
Yeah.
And a create table scenario will never change. Create table name, and then you have some params to pass. So that's how you
Right.
will create a field this.
Right.
Same logic here also, but you're doing via through a point click. So create an object, custom object, and
Right.
create a new fields and relationship. So this is the
Okay.
ideal way where you try to create a table, maybe an object and the respective fields you say. Now
Okay.
we don't have any such restrictions saying that you have to first initiate a database. Database in Sena Sales is what it says an application.
Mm.
Your RN, RBB or RNN. It's a blood bank, right? So it's an
Yeah. Right.
application. So I need not to initiate an application first and then I have to go to your table and then I have to query. It's not like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's just like flatly we're gonna connect with your table directly. It's an object directly. Which table
Oh,
you're
I
talking
know.
about? Let's say you are talking about donors. Okay, let's go select star select name from the donor. If a donor is accessible to that particular profile, of course he can view. So it is not dependent on the application now. It is directly dependent on the each and every table. So now let's say today I've written a program. I wanted to update some contact. If I say so, basically whoever is logged in and is trying to do an update contact, if that guy has a contact access, so then absolutely will work.
Oh, okay. I think I understand now. So it is not that complicated like how Java works. It's very
Yeah,
straightforward.
very straightforward. So very
Okay.
simple is if you are different family members, I have to handshake with you. If you are the same
Mm.
family members, I need not to connect anything with. I can directly query the results, and I
Okay,
can
okay.
directly update the records. So assume any table or an object which you do here, it's all within a Salesforce, and they are native to us, same family members. I need not initiate, instantiate anything here.
Okay, okay,
So it's
okay.
very simple.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So only when you have dealing with external, so maybe the external could be a Java, sorry, could be an SQL or Oracle, whatever it is. Yes, of course. In order to connect to different guys, yes, I have to do some following, and I have to do the basic things. Because
And
even when I wanted to open a connection, also they have exposed like a service to us. Again, we
yeah,
cannot directly connect to some SQL, so they should have exposed service to us, and those
oh,
guys would have written a Java program to expose such thing, and we're just
yeah,
simply consuming it.
yeah. The certificates you need to have or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Oh, one other thing was what was that? So this connecting to the external database,
Hmm.
how often do you, like you have experienced in you have so much experience in Salesforce. So how often do you use with the external entity connection?
2 to 3 times. It depends on the system. So sometime what happened, so early sales was they should be like a for reps. So only they should deal with the current data. If they wanted to get some historical data or to investigate someone's report, so they will go to fetch the records
Mm,
based on the customer ID. So you're gonna get the bunch of customer informations. Unless and until all this information is not relying on to the or not storing in the Salesforce. I mean they want it that way. So their personal information should not be stored in Salesforce. I know it's a cloud platform. I know it's a more secure, but I don't want to store some information in Salesforce. It's a client call. So then, of
mm-hmm,
course, in that case, I need to connect to some Oracle skill server, and so those guys they had a particular programming team, so they written in Java, and they expose the service
mm,
to us via through
okay,
middleware like some MuleSoft.
okay.
So via
Mm,
MuleSoft is coming to us, and now what we have to do maximum, you instantiate the connections, maybe handshake all these things during like token exchange, and your authorized user to make the call. So then they give endpoint and they give the request. So the request should be a customer ID. Maybe you pass a customer ID, get the information, and all information will be showed in Salesforce, but we don't save it. It's just all for the purpose of reference. We are showing it in UI. It's a read-only records. So like that, you can connect to some external third party and then get the data. So this is something that which I did. And other time, Salesforce don't wanted to store their personal files in the system. You getting? So any case they requires or any case they request, so they have a bunch of files. The bunch of files are like company-oriented documents. So they don't want to store in Salesforce. And again, I have to send all the files to Oracle system. So what the crazy part was, there's a file limit when you're trying to deal with. Hello,
yeah, yeah, I'm here.
yeah. So what happens is maximum 10 MB only you can send it. Though they say 12 MB, maximum 10 MB you can send via from Salesforce to third-party system. So 10 MB only it can carry if it is asynchronous based, logic if right. If you base, if you write a synchronous based logic, maximum 5 only you can send it. So now what is this async and sync I'm talking is about? So when you send it and you expect for a response, you're waiting it. Yes, the file is uploaded successfully. So that is something that we get a response instant after uploading the file. Then I show in the UI saying that successful document is uploaded. This is something synchronous system where synchronous heap size is very less, 6 MB maximum. So you can upload maximum 5 MB of a file to some third party system. 12 today the same. And again, if you wanted to
Okay.
upload some file which is holding like more than 5 MB if you think, then we would need to deal with the asynchronous process where you fire it, fire, no, uploading the file, and you forget them,
Mm,
of course. So something like this, we try to make it out somewhere to be acting like a synchronous process because we From a logical wise in the UI, we keep rotating our loading button, but it is waiting for whether the record is getting updated or not. In Salesforce, we keep checking it, but we're not expecting any response from the request which is made. But we're expecting to check a change onto the record internal to the Salesforce. So what basically I'm trying to say is, yes, of course, in this one of the scenario where I try to use the third-party systems of an SQL, where we're trying to upload a file, but they have two types of logics we can do: synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is maximum 5 MB, and asynchronous maximum 10 MB. You can send the data in terms of files.
Okay.
So of course, this time we I try to connect an integration connections with Oracle. Otherwise, the way is we try to come to SAP. Even SAP has some ordering management systems or something else where we try to connect to that particular system. And again,
Mm,
I will try to send some data based on the external ID which is there in the particular system. They will try to match, because when you send a data, how do the SAP knows? So when SAP is sending a data, how do we know that is SAP sending a data? So we'll have an external ID. So that has been a common between these two guys. So when you
okay.
try to update a record based on the external key ID, whatever it is there, we will update the record.
Okay. Okay.
Because Salesforce ID, which I say, which could be unique in our system. The same ID, how do I make sure no, in the SAP it is? So we will have an external ID for that to make some update records.
Okay. Okay. So not very often we use, but sometimes we do use this functionality of connecting to external.
Yeah, but that will be completely like an integration where you try to
Mm,
establish a connection.
okay. Okay.
Otherwise, we are okay. But for a database purpose, when within a Salesforce, when you're trying to create a custom object, whatever you deal with, for them not at all required, because they're within a family. The
Okay.
majority times you'd be dealing within a Salesforce only, and and on a rare case when they say that okay, send this data to some third party, again they will give how do you make a connection, all this inputs and everything they're going to give it. So how do you send a data? That is we have to take it then.
Okay.
Okay, on the contact management handles bulk records. So last time I was dealt with simple initiation of a contact and simple update contact here.
Okay. Oh, we only did till update. Okay. Okay. I was going through this video till update. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. So simple insertion is where I give last name and email. Based on that, you're trying to insert a record. So
Yeah.
whatever the email last name you gave, based on that, you're trying to insert a record. We have tried to handle the catch exceptions. Try catch because this should be positive and this should be negative when it comes. Finally, is anyway you try to deal with them. So like that, update contact when I say last previous name and the new name I'm giving. So I wanted to update based on the previous name search. I need to update the new name which is coming in.
Okay.
So only for the insertion we have this contact instantiated object because memory required for new records. For
Right.
an
Right.
old record we may not require at all because already the such record has been created and has a own memory for it. So this is yet to generate an ID of the record. So this is ID is already there for this case because already the existing of record is there, right?
Yeah. Okay. So here, when you are like trying to get a print or log something, you're using system.debug, right? Do
Yeah.
we have system.log as well, or no?
No, we don't have logs.
Okay. Okay.
The thing is, so for something goes wrong with the logs, so currently Salesforce has some platform events, so where it'll try to automatically fire and creates log records in the custom object. So that we'll see, in the later stage. We have to enable such settings in our advanced class.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Getting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that way, so this is insert happen update. So I want to delete a record, so that is what I was left in the last class. So I want to do that. So for deletion, I may have a return type or I may not have a return type. I can still do with the void methods. See, majority you have to understand is whether the method which I'm writing it is a A written method or non-written method. So when I say non-written, it could be a void. So when I say I want to return something, of course you are trying to say something. I would return it in a string format. I would return it in a record format. So those things will be taken care of. So why that is required if you see. So whatever you're writing, you have been calling somewhere and they're resulting something based on that calculation you are in. No, your next step would be relying on. If you don't want anything, when I want to fire, I don't want any records to be given back. You can have simple void method. So like here I'm saying public static void, I'm writing it, and I'm saying delete contact. Here I would just simply say um, so what do I pass? Which is something a unique. If I pass, it should delete the record. Let's say I'm gonna send the email. Again, you're doing the same type of query. How did we do here? Then we're doing the same. But here we're just gonna give email. Yeah, yeah, I'll see. So based on your email, the record will be figured out, and it's more than enough to delete the contact. That's it.
Okay.
So what? How often this would be? Right? If I send a wrong email ID and the record doesn't return any query, and it says the such records is not found, and what it did here it says, so then it will come to an exception. So here also you should properly do this try catch exceptions, so that if some email which is not there in the record, so it will fail. Getting? So let's
Yeah.
do the same thing. I would give an email ID which is not present. Let's see how this class would react. So contact management is one of the record which we did real, and I'm saying contact management dot delete contact is a method which we have. In this we are expecting to pass email, right? So I'm just passing email as some abc at a.com. So this is an actual, this such records are not present. When I try to execute, it says system dot query exception list has no row assignment to the subject. Actually, this is the exception that we get in it. In a real program also when you run, so you get such exceptions. So if we just open the log here, see, you see the background, what is it? Logs are generated. In the
Mm.
logs it says list has no rows per no, so assignment for the exception. So what it indicates is, so if you try to do in the UI also, what a maximum UI you're doing it. So you giving if I say delete a contact, you have a simple UI. So enter the email and then delete contact. I say such email is not present in the above. Error I should say such email is not present in our database system. Can you relate with that?
Yeah, yeah.
So let's do. So this is something like we are testing the UI. Uh, let's assume something. You have a UI like this, and then someone is entering the text box, and you have a delete button here, and the error message comes on the top. So email is say, and I say delete. So here you are giving the record as a something like this. You're giving it as an input.
Yeah.
And
So
you
on
click.
the click of delete, our method gets called and we are passing that email. And if it is not there, we get the error message on the top, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
no such email ID exists. So you can give such custom message and then you can throw back here when you're getting such exceptions.
Okay.
If there's a simple requirement in the UI, if you think, but logically we are writing the same. How do you
Right.
written? So of course the email which is not present, and then you're trying to fire them, and this method will help us to do that activity. But ideally, we should not have a try catch without a try catch exception if you do it. So it may not show here like this in a decent way. It will break the page.
Right.
Why? Because you didn't handle the try catch exception properly.
Mm.
So where we say, so properly you need to handle them. Properly you need to handle them. But how if I see, um, so here you write try and you write catch. So currently you may not show anything also if it is fine, but again, see because this is a void method, you do not return anything. Okay. Now the same method you think. So I would be saving this. And look at now. If I execute this, it tries to execute the program, but an exception, whatever it comes. So using that exception, you should display in the UI. So your page is
Mm.
not broken, but this you can display in the UI. Correct, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we should not break the page or break the logic. Of course, the exception comes. Let's print that exception there. So instead of breaking the page, so such message will come here. So it depends on the UI which you're working on. Let's say Aura or VF page or LWC. So there are some ways to capture these messages and then display in the UI.
Okay.
So that we can see in the later stage. But I really understand. So whatever you're trying to do with this execute anonymous, it's like a trial piece. We are trying to test the original logic whether it is working or not. We can't write as some UI and then waste our time there and then get the results and display it. So priorly at the learning stage is of course this guy is helping to call the original class dot method name and pass a value. And how how a UI would act, we are trying to do from the background check. Correct, right? So if I give a proper email ID, it will delete the record. Look how generally this UI would does the same. If you give a proper email ID, it will delete the record, right? And it says delete is successfully done. We can get such messages. Here also, if you have a record for contacts, let's try to open the contact object and I will try to delete the original record. So look at this. So for this email ID, I don't know whether it is. So there's no email ID for this. Let me give an email here. Email could be abc at abc.com. So this email which I'm giving it. So basically for me, so this is a unique reference which I wanted to have. The emails won't repeat everything. So abc at abc.com would be the guy I want to focus to delete here. So maybe after deleting a record, if you wanted to show a successful message, um, you can say that you can print the message. Hmm. So ideally, what we do is we try to query this record and check whether it is available or not. Hmm. You can do system.asset. Generally in test classes, we use this system.asset asset equals expected. I want it to be a zero, but it actually I don't know. So maybe I would write a condition here saying so this record of this ID would be there, no? So
Mm-hmm.
count.id. So I'm just passing here. I'm just getting the count of them. So count would be they saying it is whether this record when I query it is having zero or one record. If that record is not deleted, it will have one. If it is deleted, then it's okay. It will be zero. So actually, it would be after delete statement, it should be zero, and here it should be one. Need not be to deal with the system.debug. So not required. Semicolon is done. That's it. So what I'm trying to do is, if it doesn't have anything, it will try to break the system here. But because I'm expecting after record it is deleted, it is zero, and the count also should return zero.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an actual we have. Let's see how does it does. Okay, if this assert statement has worked fine, so then I can have a debug message also. Uh, Successfully deleted the record. Can have this message also. Why? Because when this condition pass, only then it comes to next line. If this condition fails, it just jumps to the catch exception and says that
Exception.
yeah, it throws something wrong with your program. So successfully deleted the record. So that
Mm.
means if you go back to this ninth record and if you refresh it, it shouldn't be there. See, looks like there's a problem. Maybe the record is got deleted or it's not shown. Then this the
Okay.
getting of this way is something that the record is not available.
Mm.
So you got this right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we deleted. Of course, we authenticated here saying that via through query and then again check back. Yes, of course, that record is not there. Then we're saying this message. So this all
Can you
deals with
repeat
this all
that
deals with.
again
Mhm.
to go to the exception?
So any question there?
Yeah. So if you execute the same thing again, it will go to the exception, right? Since that ID is deleted
Hmm.
already.
Of course, it should go there only. It basically. So you would have question as list has no rows and to the subject.
Oh, okay.
So the ABC you put firstly the logic would check and the first line only got failed. No such record only present here. Then how can I
Right.
delete? If I delete, then only it'll
Mm.
come here. No. So record
Yeah.
itself is not there, so I cannot delete here. So it failed here only.
Mm-hmm.
So that message has been thrown here.
Okay.
Something you perform delete, but you are unable to delete the record. So it's in the delete exception. And then okay, try to delete, and then while querying it, still the record is present. So then we have an asset statement. So like that is like one line by line it goes on. Got it?
Yeah.
So this I made to be a single records to process always. If I want to do with the bulk records, then I should have something to deal with the same. Let's try with the same with the bulk records. Um, so how to deal with the bulk records is all we have to do a proper query and then get them. Mm, Bulk deletion. But you should be very careful about when you're dealing with the bulk records. So here I would say a string email, right? So here I'm trying to take a names where I could say last name. So I'm saying whoever is having the last name as let's say Kalpana, so I don't want them anymore. So please delete them. So last name. So I think we have to use a like operator here because we don't know what values which you're giving it as. Whether it starts with, it ends with, or contains. So we need to know that. So for that reason, um, so I need to deal with the list of contacts because I know that I'm not deleting one record, I'm deleting bulk records here. So select ID from contact where last name should be like operator you should use it. Mm, and then you may use percentage symbol plus the last name which is given here, and then plus. So what it indicates is so whatever the value Kalpana, if I want to send it, whether it starts with or whether it ends with or it contains. So we have this both these wildcard tags would be present. Let's say if I do this way, if I do a percentage and then if I say so Raj. So any records which ends with Raj, they will delete the record first. So if I say Raj and then percentage, any records which starts with Raj, so I will delete that record. So if I do this, Any records which contains Raj, I will delete all of them. I mean, I will consider those records. So these are the three ways you can add it. Either you can start from. So this is actually the last node you're looking for. Last word, anything ends with Raj, you're trying to delete it off. Anything with the starting, you're trying to get those records. Anything that contains the records, you're getting with. So these are the like operators, wildcard, wildcard symbols. You getting this?
Yeah.
So in this, we can't do an assert. Assert if I do also, so we not know about how many records we have at the very beginning. So of course you can have contact dot size. Context is a list, right? Dot size is a method we have. Do you remember that? Contact dot size is a method. Why? Because it's a contact list now. It's not no more it's a contact single record. It's a list of record. I can get always the list size. So list size is the one which you queried at the very beginning and you deleted the record. So the same query whichever you sent, that should be here, no?
Yeah.
So where ID in we say where ID in. So if I say this list of records, it will get me if any record such there we have getting a list, it should be there in this count. So if the count is zero here, so then it will be zero. Of course, after deleting, it should be zero only. Why did I put this? So you say just simply trying to query the record, whichever is deleted. So they were written saying zero. All the records are deleted, and this is the um, actual where all the records should be zero. Expected is zero. Then I say successfully contact records are deleted. So any questions here? So how did we do a single record to bulk record? Single is very
Uh,
precise. You are just going to get only single record and then you deal with them. So where you don't require any collections here. So when I'm dealing with the bulk records, of course you have to deal with the collections. You're expecting one or more record can present. And I'm just saying that okay, anything with the contains Kalpana. So consider all those records, and those records are maybe one or more. So then we're getting into this contact list. Then I'm deleting the whole bunch. Yeah, go ahead.
so how does it loop? I mean, you're doing the bulk delete, right?
Yeah,
So it's selecting one ID from the contact table,
not one
just
ID.
one ID.
Not
Huh?
one ID. Each
Okay.
record will go with the. So it's not one record. No. So first, let's say, according to our design, um, so let's say in the name of Kalpana, how many we have? See, so many Kalpanas we have.
Mm-hmm.
So I would send simply Kalpana. I don't
Right.
say that start still Kalpana and ends with Kalpana. So I just send say contains Kalpana.
Mm-hmm.
So then whoever is holding the Kalpana record, so they should all get deleted.
Okay. Select the ID which is having Kalpana and then you got deleted.
So
Okay.
each record will be ID. So each record will be added to this list. So it will not be one record, it will be a bunch of records. No? Whoever is having the names such like Kalpana. So first let's
Oh,
say
okay.
this
We'll
record
add
is
to the
being went
list.
off.
Okay.
So then this record will begin. The next again. So this
So
like operator is helping us to get as many records.
so how is it looping? I mean, how okay, how is it adding to the list? That's what my thing was.
This query would automatically, query all the records and assign to this.
Okay,
We
okay,
need not to worry
okay.
about adding here. So this is a read operation we're doing it. Something that when we wanted to insert a record, yes, of course I do add here. Look at this. I
Mm-hmm.
instantiated list and the record whichever you processed and trying to add them to a list finally.
All right.
So where
Okay.
we am trying to say that this I wanted to make a new insertion. But this which is already present records and I'm then assigning those bunch of records to this list.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then you're trying to delete those records.
Mm.
So if you give valid contains, so it will have a proper valid record to delete. For example, I'm going to calling this method. So contact management handles with the same thing I'm doing it now. But no one will have a name called as gbc.com, right? So
Mm.
because this delete contact method is trying to ask the last name. So I'm just passing email ID. It's okay, but no one has a last name like that particular value. Getting? So last name
Yeah.
doesn't have any name at the email ID. So it's a failure scenario. So it says,
Yeah.
oh, successful all context.
Successful.
Now let's see such records are present or not. There are no contacts here. There are contacts. Now what happened? huh. So list is zero there. The very good thing. Let's talk about this. So this list is zero here. It tried to delete a list record. It is a zero there. It's okay,
Mm-hmm.
fine. Then it came here. Then it queried the contact list. Even this list is zero. So 0, comma 0 it matched and then it deleted successfully. So this is what we should not have it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I
Okay.
should put a message there. Yes, if statement.
Mm.
Or we have to get into this basic list when. So I would put an if statement, controlling statement. So where
Contact list not equal to 0,
mm,
then you
so
delete it.
not is we just put we can do a size also, but we always try
It's
to
empty.
use
It's
empty.
not empty.
It's not empty. So I would
Mm.
put not in the
Not.
present. So then you try to display such messages. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because a list when we write a code of the so contact list dot size greater than zero. So it has two conditions there. You write a greater than and you're saying a condition of zero, and then it becomes a true or false. Then you get inside the logic. So is empty or not empty? It is very easy to figure out, and then we are negating them. So if this is one level check you do, that is two level check when you
Yeah.
compare the size. Even for the
Mm.
code optimization, this is best case. So now you're saying that if this is not empty, come to delete record. So now let's say this. So if I execute, we shouldn't get such messages anymore. See, we don't have any
Mm.
messages here. So of course, when the record is less than zero, so then we have to have some error message to display saying that there's no records to process the delete record. We should not leave with if only. We should also have else where um, because if it is empty, then we have to display such message. No results found, and please try to give a valid name. Okay, let's give a proper value called as Kalpana. Look at this. I'm not giving 0, 1, Chawla, nothing. I'm not giving. I'm just simply giving Kalpana. So just let's execute this. This successfully deleted contact records. Now if I go back and check, see all these Kalpanas, whichever we try to insert, it should go off. So no such records we have now. So if you see them in recycle bin, you should see them. Look at this. All the records related to Kalpana, we have here. So this way back record deleted, and these are the all the Kalpana records are today deleted. This is timing and date.
Yeah.
So this is what we say bulk delete. So any questions here?
No.
So same way we whatever we acquire, no, we can update the record also. So to all the name, I can just go update the record also. Like finding the same last name and replacing with a new name.
Mm.
So this I would try to give an assignment type. So how do you update the bulk record? When you try to delete the delete record, same thing you can transform, right? So contact also already we have an update type. So I'll give a scenario here. Please try to do a bulkified update code. So already delete is something that sample is present, insert is present. Here insert update delete all for single record is present. So I will ask you please update me a bunch of record using the same name. You can do them. It's doable, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if I wanted to process the record which is inserted in maybe handles multiple record, we have a for loop statement like this. But I didn't explain the a normal way of handling for each loop. So I wanted to get the for each loop. So we have a simple if loop here. I want to have a for each loop. So in order to have a for each loop, let me have a read method where it tries to do some read activity. So I want to do something there. Bulk read record. So we'll have the same type of method, but I'm trying to do something little different. So bulk read record for contact. So how do we reading it? So let's do that. So it's not about deleting a record. Let's have it. Mm. So public. So of course we are returning a string of records. Or let's say only simply we're trying to read the record. We're not returning to anyone. So read contacts. So based on the last name, you're going to fire and then you're going to get all these records. So we're not going to deal with the last name. Um, so last name and their email ID we are focused on. So contact list if it's not empty, you're trying to display the records. So this is a bunch of record, right? So you know it is having maybe one or more records it can have because it's a list. So now what I want to do is if the list is not empty, then I'm writing a for each loop. So always in the for each loop, so left hand side is single record and right hand side holds the bulk record. So likewise, here it has a list of records, which is a bunch of record. So it is comes at the right. And then so we say single, I mean, we put colon. Why? Because each record has to go to the left side. So the left hand side, what we have is, let's say contact record we have. So we are trying to process single each record. You getting? So list of records comes always in the right side, and each and record, everything you want to process comes to the left hand side. Just a second. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said you on the right hand side, we have always a list of records to process, and then each record will come and sit into the left hand side. Of course, it's a contact object. For example, here is an account, and if you try to do a contact, it will say that first you are expecting a contact, and why you are looping with the something different object. So if it is a contact object here, so each record of the contact object I can process with. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a system.debug. So just in order to get I want to print them each record here. So I would say contact name. So I'm just printing contact name, count record dot last name. Whichever requires the same thing, you have to use it. Okay? So this way, if it has have 10 records, each record will go here of the respective object type, and then the contact record at last name it will print it. Why? Because you have been queried here. Those bunch of record, each record will have a context. It's not a single contact; it is a bunch of contact records. No. So we are trying to process one of the. It's just like looping with multiple records with this from this list. So it comes with the first record and then displays the second record and then so on will process up to the end of the record. Of course, Gmail I queried, so I'm using it here. So record contact name, and then you can say email. So then we have email value here. So what this indicates, so this method indicates absolutely you are trying to read the contacts. Simply you're trying to pass the last name. So based on the last name, we are trying to get to this list and we are processing the list in a for loop and we're trying to display them. So it has a try and we have to have a catch block. So any questions you have?
No.
Okay. Should be careful with the braces.
Hmm.
So you should write a control if you do, it will select all and then you do a shift tab, it will automatically arrange the um, code logic, it will automatically make some indentation and then do a proper arrangement.
Hmm.
For that, what I have to do is
Formatting.
so formatting, yeah, control A and then do shift tab.
Shift tab. Okay.
Yeah. So it will automatically so make the proper code indentation, all this does. So we've saved this record. So let me first undo few records here. I'll undo the Kalpana's records again, restore them back. So that now
Hmm.
I'll try to read the records. Mm, so control E, so I'm just sending read contacts here. So based on the name, if it is present, it will try to display me all the records and we are trying to process them in a for loop. Do you see this?
Hmm.
So contact has an Kalpana but doesn't have any email. So that many people has a contact has all the names but they don't have an email. Email is null. So that's the reason it didn't print any. But one of the record of the Kalpanas, we have given email ID also, so it is printed the email ID. Getting?
Yeah.
So I think we have dealt with the single and bulk records. So according to our syllabus, what we are focusing on, simply I think we have messed with only two things. What is that? Data types, access, modifiers, collection, constructor, collections is over. Control statement, if else, for loops also we added. So inheritance and interface. So should we do this off so that our basic class would get over, or you are tired? Depends.
I'm sleepy.
Okay, okay, got it. No problem. Yeah. So till now, I think we have processed the bulk records. We will upload this video.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.